What's up, YouTube family?
And boyfriend
Day 63 straight.
Betty's
100 squats, 100 calf raises with a 40-pound dumbbell. Let's
she
get it.
phrased it that she was fearing for the safety of her grandchildren and no longer wanted to be in possession of it.
Investigators then speak with Betty's adult children. They claim they had no knowledge of Betty's actions. But her son shares that he saw her get rid of a piece of carpet and was curious why she was throwing it away.
It seems like there's a lot of what we would say is circumstantial evidence stacking up against Betty and Fink.
While it's all circumstantial, all these individual points, the gun that's gone missing, human remains being found, the sighting of her throwing on a carpet, tied together in the sense that police now believe that Betty is responsible for the homicide of Keith Smith.
And finally, the lab results are in from the hair taken from the shallow grave.
So the strands on the hair that were
35.
identified and located within the shallow grave of Keith's backyard are confirmed to be human.
So while none of that is in itself determinative, as a whole, it could certainly lead to a finding of guilt.
On February 9th, Betty finally agrees to speak with the investigators. It's time for Betty to tell the truth about what happened on the night Keith died. After Betty hands over the keys, Keith's remains are found in a storage facility. Further investigation has uncovered more evidence, including an electric saw with what looks like blood on the blade. Police also collect blood splatter evidence from Keith's residence. Investigators interview Betty for the first time since the gruesome discovery of Keith's remains. At this point, it's time for her to finally come clean and tell the detectives what actually happened.
Stand number 2.
Betty now gives detectives a second version of events. In this version of events, Keith finds out that Betty's been forging checks from his mother's account. Heated argument ensues between the two of them, and during this argument, Keith grabs a gun. She lunges at him, and the gun goes off by accident, killing Keith.
Betty claims she lost her senses and didn't know what to do. And so she sat in the house with the body for hours.
She decides to wrap Keith's body in a quilt and drags it onto the porch.
Seven.
Again, Betty doesn't know what to do and is scared, so she leaves him there for 2 full days.
She then decides that she's going to bury the body in the backyard.
So Betty buries Keith, but a week later it becomes pretty clear that the hole is too shallow.
This point is when Betty says that she went to the neighbors to borrow a chainsaw.
Betty then explains that a week after burying Keith, she rented a storage bin. The next day, she used the saw to dismember his remains and place them in plastic, then in the bin. The day after that, she took it to Unit 124. On December 23, 2004, 9 days after Keith's remains are discovered, Betty is transferred to the Grand Paris jail.
So based on this new version of events, Betty is formally charged with second-degree murder. First-degree murder generally is murder with intent and premeditation. Second-degree murder is still culpable homicide, but generally it lacks evidence of the premeditation that's required for a first-degree murder charge.
Betty's always been involved in somewhat petty crimes like identity theft and fraud, forging of checks. Second-degree murder is a serious offense, and now she's staring down a life sentence.
On the same day of her arrest, Betty appears in the Grand Parish courtroom, where she pleads not guilty and is denied bail on the murder charge.
By pleading not guilty, Betty is saying that she wants to take these charges to trial, which may seem like a strange choice given that she's given a full confession. However, it is important to remember that everyone charged with a crime has the constitutional right to a trial, and you never know what's going to happen. Although on the surface, it does seem like there's a strong case for the prosecution this time.
But Betty still has one more ace up her sleeve. Betty is formally charged with second-degree murder for killing Keith Smith. She pleads not guilty. It seems like an open and shut case. Legally, you'd be pretty confident that the jury would find her guilty. But Betty tries one more time to evade punishment.
Good money.